Microfinance is a source of financial services for entrepreneurs and small businesses lacking access to banking and related services. The two main mechanisms for the delivery of financial services to such clients are relationship-based banking for individual entrepreneurs and small businesses, and group-based models, where several entrepreneurs come together to apply for loans and other services as a group. In some regions, for example Southern Africa, microfinance is used to describe the supply of financial services to low-income employees, which is closer to the retail finance model prevalent in mainstream banking. For some, microfinance is a movement whose object is a world in which as many poor and near-poor households as possible have permanent access to an appropriate range of high-quality financial services, including not just credit but also savings, insurance, and fund transfers. Many of those who promote microfinance generally believe that such access will help poor people out of poverty, including participants in the Microcredit Summit campaign. For others, microfinance is a way to promote economic development, employment and growth through the support of micro-entrepreneurs and small businesses. Microfinance is a broad category of services which includes microcredit. Microcredit is provision of credit services to poor clients. Microcredit is one of the aspects of microfinance and the two are often confused. Critics may attack microcredit while referring to it indiscriminately as either microcredit or microfinance. Due to the broad range of microfinance services, it is difficult to assess impact, and very few studies have tried to assess its full impact. Proponents often claim that microfinance lifts people out of poverty, but the evidence is mixed. What it does do, however, is to enhance financial inclusion. Background: microfinance and poverty in developing economies and particularly in rural areas. Many activities that would be classified in the developed world as financial are not monetized. That is, money is not used to carry them out. This is often the case when people need the services money can provide but do not have dispensable funds required for those services, forcing them to revert to other means of acquiring them. In their book The Poor and the Money, Stuart, Rutherford and Surquinder Aurora cite several types of needs, life cycle needs, such as weddings, funerals, childbirth, education, home building, widowhood and old age, personal emergencies, such as sickness, injury, unemployment, theft, harassment or death, disasters, such as fires, floods, cyclones and man-made events like war or bulldozing of dwellings, investment opportunities, expanding a business, buying land or equipment, improving housing, securing a job, etc. People find creative and often collaborative ways to meet these needs, primarily through creating and exchanging different forms of non-cash value. Common substitutes for cash vary from country to country, but typically include livestock, grains, jewelry and precious metals. As Marguerite Robinson describes in The Microfinance Revolution, the 1980s demonstrated that microfinance could provide large-scale outreach profitably, and in the 1990s, microfinance began to develop as an industry. In the 2000s, the microfinance industry's objective is to satisfy the unmet demand on a much larger scale, and to play a role in reducing poverty. While much progress has been made in developing a viable, commercial microfinance sector in the last few decades, several issues remain that need to be addressed before the industry will be able to satisfy massive worldwide demand. The obstacles or challenges to building a sound commercial microfinance industry include inappropriate donor subsidies, poor regulation and supervision of deposit-taking microfinance institutions, few MFIs that meet the needs for savings, remittances or insurance, limited management capacity in MFIs, institutional inefficiencies, Need for more dissemination and adoption of rural, agricultural microfinance methodologies. Microfinance is the proper tool to reduce income inequality, allowing citizens from lower socio-economical classes to participate in the economy. Moreover, its involvement has shown to lead to a downward trend in income inequality. Ways in which poor people manage their money. Rutherford argues that the basic problem poor people as money managers face is to gather a usefully large amount of money. Building a new home may involve saving and protecting diverse building materials for years until enough are available to proceed with construction. Children's schooling may be funded by buying chickens and raising them for sale as needed for expenses, uniforms, bribes, etc. Because all the value is accumulated before it is needed. This money management strategy is referred to as saving up. Often, people don't have enough money when they face a need, so they borrow. A poor family might borrow from relatives to buy land, from a money lender to buy rice, or from a microfinance institution to buy a sewing machine. Since these loans must be repaid by saving after the cost is incurred, Rutherford calls this saving down. Rutherford's point is that microcredit is addressing only half the problem, and arguably the less important half. Poor people borrow to help them save and accumulate assets. Microcredit institutions should fund their loans through savings accounts that help poor people manage their myriad risks. Most needs are met through a mix of saving and credit. A benchmark impact assessment of Grameen Bank and two other large microfinance institutions in Bangladesh found that for every $1 they were lending to clients to finance rural non-farm microenterprise, about $2.50 came from other sources, mostly their clients' savings. This parallels the experience in the West, in which family businesses are funded mostly from savings, especially during startup. Recent studies have also shown that informal methods of saving are unsafe. For example, a study by Wright and Mutesazira in Uganda concluded that those with no option but to save in the informal sector are almost bound to lose some money, probably around 1/4 of what they save there. The work of Rutherford, Wright and others has caused practitioners to reconsider a key aspect of the microcredit paradigm. That poor people get out of poverty by borrowing, building microenterprises and increasing their income. The new paradigm places more attention on the efforts of poor people to reduce their many vulnerabilities by keeping more of what they earn in building up their assets. While they need loans, they may find it as useful to borrow for consumption as for microenterprise. A safe, flexible place to save money and withdraw it when needed is also essential for managing household and family risk. Examples: the microfinance project of saving up is exemplified in the slums of the southeastern city of Vijayawada, India. This microfinance project functions as an unofficial banking system where Jyoti, a deposit collector, collects money from slum dwellers, mostly women, in order for them to accumulate savings. Jyoti does her rounds throughout the city, collecting Rs 5 a day from people in the slums for 220 days. However, not always 220 days in a row, since these women do not always have the funds available to put them into savings. They ultimately end up with Rs 1,000 at the end of the process. However, there are some issues with this microfinance saving program. One of the issues is that while saving, clients are actually losing part of their savings. Jyoti takes interest from each client, about 20 out of every 220 payments, or Rs 100 out of 1,100, or 8%. When these slum dwellers find someone they trust, they are willing to pay up to 30% to someone to safely collect and keep their savings. There is also the risk of entrusting their savings to unlicensed, informal, peripatetic collectors. However, the slum dwellers are willing to accept this risk because they are unable to save at home, and unable to use the remote and unfriendly banks in their country. This microfinance project also has many benefits. such as empowering women and giving parents the ability to save money for their children's education. This specific microfinance project is a great example of the benefits and limitations of the Saving Up project. The microfinance project of Saving Through is shown in Nairobi, Kenya, which includes a rotating savings and credit associations or ROSCAs initiative. This is a small-scale example, however. Rutherford describes a woman he met in Nairobi and studied her roster. Every day 15 women would save 100 shillings, so there would be a lump sum of 1,500 shillings, and every day one of the 15 women would receive that lump sum. This would continue for 15 days and another woman within this group would receive the lump sum. At the end of the 15 days a new cycle would start. This roster initiative is different from the Saving Up example above because there are no interest rates affiliated with the roster. Additionally, everyone receives back what they put forth. This initiative requires trust and social capital networks in order to work. So often these ROSCAs include people who know each other and have reciprocity. The roster allows for marginalized groups to receive a lump sum at one time in order to pay or save for specific needs they have.